kind of year end wrap up for the DPAL meeting. So if you guys wouldn't mind by introducing yourselves in the chat. So just name and agency that you work for. And we'll give it one more minute and then we'll get started with the presentation. Okay, Stasia, if you want to flip to the next slide, please. Well, again, welcome everybody. My name is Kyla Moe. For those of you that I have not had the pleasure of meeting yet, I am the Director of Information and Impact over here at the Metro Denver Homeless Initiative, also known as MDHI. So today we will be covering several points, and then at the very end, we'll leave time for any questions or anything that you guys would like more information on. During the presentations, we ask if you have any questions, if you can just type it in the chat. And we will either answer it right in the chat, or if it's something that we need to or feel would be beneficial to answer live, we will filter that and ask the presenter to answer live as well. And then again, at the end, we'll have time for kind of overall Q&A, but feel free to put questions as we're presenting into the chat. So just some of the things that we're going to be covering today, we're going to be going over reporting, data quality, training, and then just a few other kind of housekeeping, wrap up things toward the end of the meeting. So with that said, I am going to pass it over to Matt, who is going to start us off by talking about reporting.
Good morning, everyone. Good to see a bunch of familiar faces and names in the Zoom. So yeah, I'm going to start off by talking about the Tableau server access that we rolled out earlier in November. We started with DPALs to a collection of dashboards that the HMIS leads across the state of Colorado came together to create. Different projects and different agencies have different initiatives and workflows, but we tried to create as apples to apples breakdowns as we could across a variety of like standardized metrics that exist in HMIS to demonstrate like the work that's happening in homeless services in Colorado and the work that's being done by agencies that contribute and participate in HMIS data entry. So those dashboards are available on the Tableau server site that MDHI has been provided with from Community Solutions via our partnership with them and their Built for Zero initiative. It does require a username and password to access, and the other requirement that we have is that you must work for an agency that has a co-HMIS agency partnership agreement on file with us, so all of you certainly. We started by rolling out access to our agency's DPALs to give our main points of contact and opportunities to review things before we rolled out access to additional agency staff. But we are ready to roll out access to anyone else at your agency who is interested or you think would benefit from reviewing any of the metrics associated in the dashboard. So we've included a link to request access in the slide deck, and it's the same link that you received in the email that was sent out in November too. So just want to flag that we're ready to provide additional agency access. We'd ask that you be, the email that we sent out previously kind of lays out kind of guidelines around the Tableau server access. We don't necessarily have license limits for it, but we would ask that you be considerate with the number of people that you're requesting the access for and making sure that people will abide by the guidelines, logging in regularly. Like really, we would want people who get a license to this product to be using it and logging in regularly. So we can go on to the next slide, please. And moving on from the dashboards, we also do hope to provide additional dashboards available within Tableau server soon. The Built for Zero dashboards are pretty much ready to go for the veteran population. We'll be rolling those out, and we hope to have some data quality dashboards in the not so distant future as well. So I wanted to move on to just kind of some best practices around, not move on in the slides, just move on in the subject matter. My apologies. I wanted to move on to just some reminders about federal reports like APRs and CAPRs. So as just as a level setting, APRs are annual performance reports that are required for continuum of care funded projects. ESG capers are the Emergency Solutions Grant Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report. That is a mouthful. Those are required for ESG funded projects, but you can run those reports for any of your programs regardless of funding source if you did want to keep your thumb on the pulse of how HUD kind of views breakdowns for projects entering data into HMIS. So if we can go to the next slide, please. There are some things to keep in mind with federal reports, though, and specifically, these federal reports only bring in the most recent enrollment per person per project. So if you have a person that served multiple times in the same project or in the same grant that you're including in the report parameters, you're not going to bring in every one of their enrollments. You're only going to bring in their most recent enrollment that has occurred within the reporting period. And that's to prevent duplication in the total numbers that have been served in those federal reports. So just as a quick example, this person has 2 enrollments in your rapid rehousing project with these 2 different dates. If you ran an APR that's specific to your grant, so for example, maybe it's April 1st to the end of March, the specifics are going to matter for those enrollments, right? The person, you're only going to bring in the data from enrollment 1 in the first scenario because the enrollments overlap with that APR's grant period. And same with the second example there. It's really the dates matter within your enrollments, and that's true for housing move-in dates. It's true for project exit dates. If those dates associated with the enrollment pieces have not happened as of the end of the reporting period that you enter for your APR, it does not get reflected in the breakdowns because the report is very literal with the programming specifications. So we're hoping to lean in more into providing additional context and guidance around how these federal reports work moving forward, just because they are important, and it's important to understand how things are and are not being counted. So we can go on to the next slide. We also have a number of reporting resources that are available both on the HMIS help desk, which I've included some links to here, and our vendor BitFocus also has a number of resources available on their resource site. So we actually have some tutorials on how to run APRs, how to run capers. There's a troubleshooting data quality issues identified on the APR. That's a very lengthy report. I apparently recorded it several years ago. It's like 32 minutes. So it's fairly comprehensive. But we do want to lean more into providing you with resources that help explain any of the reports in the report library and HMIS can be run by any of your staff that have access to HMIS. So just wanted to make sure that all these reports are flagged. Program details report is also a really nifty report that I recorded a tutorial for earlier this week that shows you how to basically get all of the data from all of the sections of your enrollment. So entry screens, status updates, annual assessments, exit screens. Even if there are custom fields in your workflow, that report will bring them out into a file for you to be able to look at and analyze. And then again, the vendor's library of reporting resources is also fairly comprehensive. I think we can go on to the next slide. And this I will pass over to my colleague, John.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about automated data quality monitoring. Some of you may remember that the last DPAL meeting, we talked about how this was going to be coming soon, and now it actually is. So how we previously have done some data quality monitoring has been that we generated reports that were sent to us, and then we would reach out to people that were associated with the data quality errors, and we'd reach out individually. And it was just an inefficient process that took a lot of time and manpower. We have access now to some new software that we've been working with. And so starting next week, what's going to happen is we'll be able to automatically detect these data quality errors and attach the user that's associated with that error, attach their email, and send an automated message directly to that user saying what the error is and a few common scenarios or essentially how to fix it. And this is going to be really beneficial because it's going to save us a lot of time that we can then redirect towards other data requests or whatever else we have on our plate. It also means that these things are going to be sent out in real time. So it's going to help fix the issue sooner. And will also help to reinforce best practices. When people receive like a notification the day after that they made a mistake, they're probably more likely to realize not to do that, because sometimes when things get hectic, sometimes we only send these emails out like once a week. this is going to be daily. So we can move on to the next slide. I just have an example of one of these automated emails. This would be for a client who has exited to the destination other, which is not recommended by HUD and should almost never happen. So it's going to clearly start by saying that it's being sent from a no reply account. And so that's something that we really want to hammer, is that if people do have questions or need support, they should ask for that support by reaching out to the help desk, either via Zendesk or by emailing hmishelp@mdhi.org. I think we make it pretty clear in the email because we put it at the top. We put it in the middle saying, like, in regards to the solution, if you need support, reach out to those resources. And then at the end, we also say it, but just want to reinforce that if you respond to the no reply, we're not going to see it. And users will get a notification about that, but we really want people to be submitting tickets if they need to reach out for help. It's going to describe the error, and it's also going to give a solution. And then in this one, because exits to other can be a little bit more complex, and there are a lot of different scenarios, we have some common errors that people make often to kind of help guide people through the different possibilities. And hopefully these common scenarios will give people enough information to fix the error themselves. And then again, if not, they can always reach out to us. They just need to do it through Zendesk or HMIS help. So yeah, these are going to start coming out next week automatically. We're more than willing to receive feedback on this if there are any issues, but we think it's going to be good, and we think it's going to be really helpful both for us and for agencies. Yeah.
John, there was one quick question in the chat about whether DPALs will be included in the initial communications, or if it's just going to be to end users that are creating the data quality issues.
Right now, it's just set up to send them directly to users, but if that's something that people were interested in, we could also include a DPAL because we could attach it through the agency, if that's something that people want. The other thing is, right now we have it set up to where it's just going to run every single day. In the future, what we'd like to do is have like a little bit of a buffer, but right now we don't have the capacity to make that happen. So right now, I mean, like, if this email was sent out today and then the issues weren't fixed, the next day that same email would go out. That's a caveat that I think is important to mention. And it's something that we'd like to work with, but right now with our capacity, this is the best that we can do. Are there any other questions? All right, thanks. That's my piece.
Good morning, everyone. Bashira here, Provider Engagement Specialist. I'm going to start with just going over some data quality reminders. So earlier, I think it was last month, Stacia and myself sent out some emails regarding overlapping enrollments. If you received one of those emails, please help us in getting those HMIS entries updated for our LSA federal reports. If you need us to resend you those spreadsheets for the overlapping enrollments, please email Stacia or myself. Next, I want to talk about the COVID hotels and the double entries that we've been seeing, which have led to overlapping enrollments. If you run a night-by-night shelter, you can leave those clients enrolled when they leave to go to the COVID hotels, but you should not be recording a bed night. And if you run an entry-exit shelter, please exit the client when they leave and then re-enroll them upon return to your shelter. Next, bed inventory. An email was sent out by myself regarding missing bed inventory. If you received one of those emails, please fill out the drop form that was sent in the email. We need that information updated for our federal reporting once again. Lastly, if you receive an email from Stacia or myself and you don't understand it or you need further assistance, please reach back out to us so that we can help fix the issue, so that we can just ensure we're getting quality data across the board. And then I'm just going to go over the resources for DPALs again. Stacia and I are still piloting the new ways to assist you all, so we're still dividing the counties. I'm covering Adams, Arapahoe, including the city of Aurora, Broomfield, and Boulder. and Stacia covers Denver, Douglas, and Jefferson County. If you need any updates or information, please make sure to regularly check the DPAL zone. And then lastly, to ensure that we have up-to-date DPAL information, if the DPAL happens to change, make sure that you submit an updated DPAL agreement so Stacia, myself, or the rest of the MDHI staff know who to reach out to.
Thank you, Bashira. I'm just going to jump in here real quick and just kind of echo what Bashira was saying. It's federal report season. And so for those of you that have been around the HMIS world for a while, you know that's the season where we have to clean our data and be prepared to submit these federal reports. We want these federal reports as accurate as possible to reflect all the good work that you guys are doing on the ground. And so that's why we've been creating these reports and reaching out to you guys to help us collect this data. We are going to be putting some processes in place, like John just mentioned, to where we're going to try to flag some of these errors in real time. One of them being overlapping enrollments. And so if an overlapping enrollment occurs, it will, that next morning, it was going to send it right out. And then we ask that it gets corrected. We are also, will have a new person starting with the MDHI team in January. And she is our quality assurance specialist. So she will also be kind of working directly with you guys on a more ongoing basis, along with Stacia and Bashira, to ensure that the data is of quality throughout the whole year, so that we're not having to bug you every year at the end of the year. And then that way, we have been getting a lot of requests for data requests. And so not just for federal reports once a year, these ongoing requests, we want to make sure our data is as accurate as possible. And so we appreciate you guys' support to help us in answering that, and answering the emails that come out and actually making sure that the data is clean. So again, thank you. And just to, kind of echo, just stressing the importance of making sure that the data is as accurate as possible so we can reflect the work.
And Kyla, there were a couple of questions in the chat about this section. Duncan, I think the project types matter for the exit date overlapping with an entry date of the next program. I'll double check on it for you. I think for entry exit shelters, I think it might be okay to have an exit date from one shelter on the same date as an entry at the other, but I want to double check that to make sure how they count the bed nights associated. And I will get back to you and make sure that gets disseminated. And then for Echo, you can edit exit destinations after the fact and change it from other to the specific destination that it should have been, for sure.
And then to answer the other question about overlapping enrollments, that's still something that we are going to develop. But I think, John, it would be both people who have the overlapping enrollment would receive the email, or how would we think? Because right now it's, the spreadsheets that we send it out to both agencies. So if your overlapping enrollment overlaps with another shelter, you both receive the list. So as far as how the overlapping automated emails are going to work, I don't know exactly how that's going to work, unless, John, you already have that piece figured out.
Yeah, that one's still in production, so we aren't rolling that one out yet. We're sending 5 automated ones so far, starting next week, that mostly have to do with exit destination or things that are dated in the future, which nothing should be dated in the future. It should only be recorded at the time that it happens or after. But the way that overlapping enrollments would work is that, yes, both parties would receive it because there has to be a disconnect on one or the other, but there's no way from our perspective to know which one is incorrect. So that would have to go to both agencies, and hopefully one agency would be able to figure out, oh, like we didn't exit this client, or like we started them too soon. So yeah, it would have to go to both.
Okay, I guess it's time to talk about training. My name is Jazz. I'm the HMIS Training and Application Specialist, Level 2 at MDHI. So we're going to talk about training. As you guys know, the new training process launched in October. And there are some reminders here about the sign-up process. It is still located on Zendesk in the DPAL zone. You do have to be signed in order to see the link. Nothing has changed about the sign-up process. It is still exactly the same. One thing that I've noticed is that we get a lot of emails that are asking, saying that they're like your end users have not gotten the email from the LMS. We are aware of this. Excuse me, this is a known issue. At the top of the Google form, it does have this messaging that we ask that you send to your staff members. It includes a hyperlink to the website where they can use forgot password, the forgot password link in order to get signed up. When you guys register them on the Google form, within the hour, their accounts are registered, active, and ready to go, but they may not have gotten this email. So I'll see that some of you guys will say that you signed them up like a week ago and they haven't gotten in. They really just need to go to the website and use the forgot password link. So if you guys can be copying and pasting this message, I typed it all out. All you need to do is just copy and paste it to the end user after you set them up. And it's at the top of the Google form where you signed them up in the first place. You can go to the next slide. So the new training course consists of our HMIS 101 course, and then I have separated the foundational HMIS into 3 separate days. So when your staff members sign up, they get added to the 101 course automatically. And then once they complete that, they'll be assigned day 1. Day 1 consists of going through kind of the basics of the different websites that we use, and just kind of the introduction into HMIS. It's very basic stuff about like what it is to search for your clients and things like that. At the end of day 1, I do assign an assignment to them where they go into our HMIS training site. They are to create a profile for themselves as well as another fake person. They link them together in a household, and then they have to download and then upload into the LMS their Clarity ID card. All of the steps to do this are written out very like step by step. If people are struggling to download their Clarity ID card, I would advise they go back and rewatch the videos because we go over that also step by step kind of in those videos. And then once day 1 is complete, it'll be 15 hours before day 2 is assigned to your staff member. This is because I really wanted to take the content and spread it out. This is a lot of content to learn, and it's not the easiest content. So I have spread it out over the course of these 3 days. We do not want people kind of rushing through it. So day 2 assigns 15 hours later. Day 2 is where we go over prior living situation and disabling condition. The entirety of the day is focused on this content because we know that it's kind of the hardest for people to understand. And I go through it very slowly, kind of bit by bit. The end of day 2 assignment, it has them go into the training site. They locate their profile and just do a basic enrollment into an emergency shelter program. This is kind of to get them to understand the process of logging into the system, searching for themselves, like searching for a client, locating that profile, and like being able to enroll them into a specific program. Once day 2 is complete, day 3 assigns 15 hours later. And day 3 is where we go over the remainder of kind of the tasks that they do in HMIS, things like providing services, providing notes, kind of the remainder of the stuff that they do, as well as exiting clients from programs. At the end of day 3, I do give them a backstory for them to use as their practical exam. And then it gets graded. What I'm finding right now is that most staff, once they get to day 3, we actually have about 50-50 for people who pass versus who fail. However, when they fail, the next thing I have them do is come to an office hours and I sit with them one-on-one and I ask them kind of their thought process through filling out their intake and everything and kind of what their understanding is, and then I fill in the gaps. But what I'm finding is that it's not that your staff do not understand it. Primarily, the mistakes that get made are people just not paying attention to details, or they're just trying to hurry up and rush through it. And if they would double check their work, they would see these errors like very easily. I can't tell you the number of people that I will go through, and like we're going through prior living situation, and they'll say, well, I don't know why I answered that. Me neither. I don't know why they answered that either, but they see their mistakes as soon as they look at it. So I really want to advise you guys to tell your staff to take their time with the practical and to go back and double check their work before they hit submit. That way it's the fastest way for them to get their login credentials. And that's pretty much the training course. You can go to the next slide. Yeah, training is hard. Please ensure your staff have ample time to complete the self-led portion of training and they have a quiet space. This still says instructor-led portion of training, which is not really a thing anymore. If your staff fail, then I do ask them to come to office hours and they sit with me. We sit in a one-on-one. And I mean, your staff do need to have a quiet space for that section. Your staff need to be taking notes. I stress it in the training and I'm going to stress it to you guys. Your staff need to take notes. If they take notes or if they go back and revisit the stuff that they don't understand, they should not have any problems getting through the training the first time around. But the training is difficult. So the ability to just sit down and you're going to pass it, like, just if you're only half paying attention to it, is not likely that that's a thing. Yeah, so that's that. Do you have the data on how long it takes for most folks to complete the different sections? No, because it is per person. Like, it is dependent on each person. Every day of the training should not take longer than, well, the content does not take longer than 3 hours a day. Between the content and the assignment, but that's for me who knows how to do this. I mean, not only did I make the content, but I could do it in my sleep. So it's really hard for me to just give you kind of a gauge of what it's going to take for your staff, because that's completely up to the person themselves. But the content itself is no longer than 2 to 3 hours each day. Training office hours are still offered every single week. If your staff members fail their practical the first time, they are required to come to office hours before they can move forward. However, the office hours are still open for anyone who just has questions along the way, people who would benefit from talking to an instructor and having it explained to them. It still happens every single week. It is on their calendar in the LMS. Does the LMS capture that? No, it does not, because staff doing the assignment is not within the LMS. They're doing the assignment in the HMIS training site. So right now, the LMS captures exactly how long the videos take, which is what I already know, because I have all the video timestamps.
Any other training questions for Jazz? And yeah, I mean, Midori, just to build on that, like Jazz says, the videos take about 2 to 3 hours. That's the content. And then there's a test afterwards. So, you know, we would recommend that people block off a good at least 4 hours, 4 to 5 hours on their calendars to complete this. It may only take them 2 hours or it may take them 5 hours. It just really depends on the quizzes throughout the day. You can take as many times as you want until you pass. And so if you watch the video and you pass it the first time, it could take you 2 hours. If you're somebody that, is struggling a little bit and needs to rewatch the video several times to pass the quiz, it could take you into the 3-4 hour mark. So it's really kind of hard to give an average because, like Jazz says, it is dependent on the staff. But each of the videos, like Jazz says, are no longer than 3 hours each day. So we would plan, have them just block out for scheduling purposes, 4 to 4.5 hours to complete the training. And then just one thing to note before we get into the wrap up, also, it's kind of part of the wrap up. MDHI will be closed starting the afternoon of actually the 22nd, but we'll be fully out December 23rd through this January 2nd, coming back January 3rd. During that time, we are going to go into the kind of modified support role. We will be monitoring the help desk for lockouts only. So if you're locked out of your account, or if like total system failures, anything that's going to prevent you from getting your job done that day, we will be monitoring the help desk during this time. Any other requests will be answered when we get back. So just for planning purposes for your staff, keep that in mind. Also, when it comes to training, Jazz will still be grading practicums during this week, but she'll only be doing it once a week. And office hours will not be held for the last week in December and that first week in January. So really next week will be the last office hours until that second week in January. So also just for planning purposes, to let your staff know, training will still be up and going, and and like we said, but we just won't have that physical office hours. So if they fail, then they have to wait until the next office hours, which will be that second week in January. So that is kind of the holiday schedule. Just a few other wrap-up things to talk about is, again, it's federal reporting season, which means PIT is upon us again. And so this year we will be doing our PIT count on the night of January 30th. So we will be sending communications. If you haven't already received some from the PIT, your PIT lead in your community. We just need your guys' help again to make sure that HMIS is as accurate as possible, as we will be pulling data for any of the shelters and a few of the street outreach projects like safe parking and safe outdoor spaces. We will be pulling your data directly from HMIS, meaning that you don't have to do the mobile PIT survey. We'll be using HMIS as the data source. So we just ask that, you make sure that you do a review of your client rosters to make sure that like all the clients that are currently enrolled on that night are in fact the clients that are there that night, that you exit out any clients that, may not be there and enter any that may have been missed. We will be reaching out after. So in February, I'll be reaching out just with you all to confirm those totals. But if you can help us in making sure, now you have a little over a month just to kind of do that initial kind of client roster, look at, make sure the data in HMIS is clean and accurate. And then one other thing is we were notified by BitFocus, who is the software vendor for Clarity, that back in clients that were enrolled back in 2019, there are some clients where if they physically signed a PDF copy of the ROI and then you all re-uploaded it and had it and attached it to their file, those PDFs are no longer there. The ROI, it'll still show that the client has consented. But if you were to go down to attach or to download for some reason, you needed a copy of the actual signed form, and you go to the client's file and it's it may no longer be there. So what we are asking is, if for some reason that you do encounter this issue where you needed to get a physical copy of the signed ROI, you go to the client's file and it's no longer there. We just ask that you have the client sign another one and re-upload it. So if you got, just kind of giving you guys an issue, I don't know of, I know there's a couple use cases where people have had to do that. I don't know how often people need the physical signed copy of the ROI, but just to let you guys know, just a heads up, like I said, it still reflects in the system that they did give consent and it does say yes, it's just the physical copy's not there. And then I am actually going to pass it back to Jazz because there was one thing that she forgot to mention about training.
Yeah, I forgot to talk about refresher training. So refresher training, if you do not work at CCH or Denver Rescue Mission, has come and has gone. I am still in the process right now because I do have to go individually by your agencies and kind of by staff members to figure out who's done it, who has not done it. So you guys will be getting emails from me with the list of staff that have been deactivated because they haven't done their refresher training. And basically, the refresher training was thankfully made by some of our partners in another COC, and every section has kind of exercises or quizzes embedded in the section. What I'm finding as I go through this list is people are skipping those exercises, so the system is not giving them credit for have completed those sections. People need to have gone through the entirety of the training. So if they didn't complete every section, they're not getting credit for the refresher training. And they'll be on the list that's included with you guys as well. For your staff that have not completed refresher training and they get deactivated, they will need to email into the help desk to get added to a second chance course. Essentially, that course will be available to them 7 days after they've been enrolled into the course, and they need to log in and complete it. This will only be offering kind of this 7 days for them to redo it through the end of the year. because we need to be recycling these licenses. I need them for new staff members who are coming up. I need them for the other agencies that have not gotten to do refresher training yet. So this cannot be, like, I can't continue to push this out. So if your staff do not complete it before the end of the year, in order to get their login credentials back, they'll need to go through the self-paced training. So you all will get emails about your staff here, hopefully well, by the beginning of next week, end of this week, beginning of next week, I'll be sending them out. And one other thing that I'm going to be doing in the new year is setting all of the DPALs up with emails every week regarding their staff members and the progress that they have in the LMS. But again, I have to get through all of refresher before I can start doing that. So that'll happen sometime in 2023.
And Jazz, there's a question in the chat about how will enrollment in the second chance refresher training be communicated?
So I'm going to be sending an email to all the DPALs that says, here's your list of people who got deactivated. It is up to your people to email the help desk to ask to get their refresher, to get into the second chance refresher. That has a macro that I've set up, a response that says, you've been enrolled, you have 7 days to do it, et cetera, et cetera. I cannot just act like I can't go through and just enroll people, because I have a lot of people in the system that don't work for you guys anymore. And this is kind of the only way that I have to audit that. So.
That is also a plug for data quality, is if you do have staff that turn over, if you could please let us know so that we can deactivate them in HMIS. And if they happen to be in the process of training, we can also deactivate them in LMS. As Jazz says, we have a limited amount of licenses, and so we have to recycle them. And so unfortunately, we don't have unlimited, so we do have to recycle the licenses. So it's extremely useful to know when there's staff that are either no longer at the agency or no longer may, need HMIS status. So just, keep that constant communication up, send in a help desk ticket, and then we will, deactivate their license that way. Okay, that was all of the structured content that we had today. So I'm just going to leave it open if people have questions. Is there anything particular that you guys want? Anything else particular? We have about 15 minutes left that you guys want us to run through. Just kind of an open forum to ask questions or if there's any other information you would like us to present.
A quick clarification on my end, Kyla, about Duncan's question about entry-exit shelters and exit dates and those overlapping with start dates. From what I can tell, I put this in the chat, but just to say it out loud in the recording, from what I can tell reviewing the programming specifications, exit dates are used to count whether a person is active, but for entry-exit shelters, it does not appear to be a factor for bed nights. So an exit date doesn't appear to be something that happens on one date, preventing the enrollment at another entry-exit shelter happening on that same date, from what I can tell. I will submit an AAQ to HUD, and if I learn that I am mistaken in my interpretation of the specs, I will reach back out to all the DPALs and let y'all know. But that's how I'm interpreting the programming specs there.
And then also just to reiterate kind of on that, along the same lines of what Bashir was talking about with the COVID hotels, it's very important that you guys kind of keep in mind that Clarity is meant to track clients and client stays. It is not meant to collect bed reservations. So I know that there is a function. We do have a function and a feature that we would be happy to walk through with you guys where you can track reservations. But the main purpose of the bed nights and of entry-exit shelters is that counts people. And so if you have instances, and I know several of the shelters do, where you have a policy where if you hold somebody's bed for 4 to 8 hours, or for instances, if they go to a detox center or COVID hotel, that's fine that you hold the bed, but you cannot enter a bed night in the system for that client, because that is saying that that client is actually physically staying in there that night. Again, reports count people, not beds. And so for entry exit, we would ask that you exit them and re-enroll them when they come back. For night by night shelters, it would be you just don't record a bed night that night. Again, please reach out to the help desk if you are interested in using our bed reservation feature. And we would be happy to walk you through that. It's an additional module that is available in the system. But that is where I think where we're encountering a lot of some of the overlapping enrollments. It also, if you are a night-by-night shelter and you record a physical bed night for that person, and that client happens to show up at another night-by-night shelter, they can't enter that bed form. The system is preventing it. So just again, reiterating the importance of recording people that physically stay in the beds, not the beds, when you're using that bed night service. Yes, this recording and the PowerPoint will be posted on the DPAL zone. And so that's on the Zendesk where, there is actually just a button on Zendesk that says DPAL zone. This will be posted along with the PowerPoint. So we will stay on for, the next 10 minutes or so if anybody wants to stay on or has any questions, but I just thank you guys for attending the meetings or attending this meeting. We will, look to schedule another one in the first quarter of next year and get back on a regular cadence of having these meetings quarterly. But we do appreciate all of you and all of the work that you guys are doing. And we do wish that you guys all have a happy holiday.
Hi, my name's Simone McWilliams. I'm brand new to this world and was added as a DPAL. I work for Benefits in Action, and we just don't really know where to start with training. So is there anything special I should know to get us all started with training? We all have to take it because we're new to this.
Have you registered yourselves on the Google form?
No, not yet. I didn't even know there was a Google form yet. So like I said, I've received maybe 2 emails so far. One was this meeting and another was a question about our numbers, and we don't have any yet.
Wales, Stage or Bashira, do you guys do, I don't know what you guys do for setup or like setting a new agency up?
Sorry, we already have you all set up in the in HMIS.
Oh, are we? Okay.
And I thought I had sent someone information on how to get started with training. I just can't think of who that is right now. I think it might have been Jane.
Oh, okay. She's been having problems with her email. Okay. I'll ask her.
Well, that link in the chat is just Zendesk, and on Zendesk we have a DPAL zone. And in the DPAL zone, there's a training sign up link, but you need to be signed in.
Okay.
In order to see that link, you need to be signed into Zendesk in order to see the link. And then that's just a Google form that you fill out, and the whole training should be kind of an automated process.
Sounds great. I can do that. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and just email the help desk if you still have questions.
Okay, will do.
Michael has his hand up.
Hi, Michael.
Hi, Jazz. Sorry to bother you with this little quirky problem. I have this guy who did the refresher training and he clearly skipped one of the quizzes, and now he's on vacation, and he's not coming back till the 27th after you guys are closed. And I'm wondering how
just email me. Just email me. I'll figure it out.
Okay.
Email me when he's back.
Yeah, email the help desk, Michael, not Jazz directly.
Yeah, not me, but like the help desk.
Yeah.
I did. You got one in your inbox, I'm sure, but I can resend it. And you guys are super busy, and yeah.
I've got the one that you responded, but I just mean like whenever he gets back and he's ready to take the training, just email me. I mean, I'm gonna.
Oh, okay.
it'll still be the 7 days, but I mean, I still have, I had to split refresher training into multiple agencies, which is why I need all of the previous agencies to be done so that I can go to the ones that haven't done it yet. So there will still be people actively taking the refresher training. So I will just make an exception, but he just needs to email me when he's back. He will still only have through the end of January though.
That's fine. He'll do it fast. Thanks. You've been a big help through the year and years, Jazz. Appreciate it.
No problem.
Have a good day.
You too.
Did you see my question about,
Yeah, I answered it. Linda, did you see it?
oh, no, I didn't see it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
If they already have HMIS credentials and they just need to take one home training, you just need to email the help desk and ask for the one home training. If
Okay, yeah, they
don't
do.
have-
They,
Yeah, if they don't have HMIS credentials, they have to go through the whole training.
yeah, no, they all do. I just couldn't.
Yeah.
Couldn't remember how to, sign them up for that.
Yeah,
Just
just
email
email.
the help desk. Yep.
Okay, I think there was another hand up.
Easy enough.
Thank you, Linda.
Hey, hey Kyle, I had my hand up. That's Alana. So I second Mike. So thank you guys for being so helpful around the refresher training and making exceptions for our folks who clearly did something wrong. But I also, while I have you guys here, I have an email out to Stacia, but we wanted to get set up with that attendance only role for entering. And so if there's any way we could do that sooner rather than later, just to actually like have the account set up so we could get someone in there using it, that would be really awesome. So I don't know what the process looks like for that.
And Stasia's battling with losing her voice, but I believe she responded back to you, Ileana, and we had some questions about exactly how to set it up. So if you don't, so if you don't remember seeing that email, we can resend it.
So the last email I saw from her was that video, and the video really was just showing you how to do like the attendance module, like how to enter people in attendance.
Yeah, well,
it had nothing about like setting up a role.
She sent it last week. So let me know if you don't see it. We can resend it.
Okay, yeah, if you can, I don't have that in my email. If you can resend that.
Yeah, we can resend it. Yeah, we can set you up. We just had a couple questions about exactly what you guys are wanting to do, because there's a couple different ways we can go with the attendance setup.
Okay.
So
Great.
I'll have Stacia resend it after this email or after this meeting.
Perfect. That's amazing. Thank you so much.
Yep.
And have a great holiday.
Thanks, you too.
All right. Take care.
Hi there. I just have a quick question. We recently hired someone for a case. We hired a case manager with HMIS credentials. So will they be using the same login, or will they need to restart the whole process? How does that work with us hiring someone from like a different agency who has already gone through this process?
It depends on the last time they access the system. So you just need to email the help desk whenever they start.
Alrighty, sounds good. Thank you.
Okay. Looks like Linda and Noel, you're the only ones left. Any other questions? Anything else we can help you with?
No, I'm good. Thank you. I was enjoying it like a podcast. Thanks, guys. Happy holidays.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Take care.